It's now my great pleasure to introduce two of the main actors from the Cyberman story, Earthshock. Bringing them together has been quite a challenge today because we are in different parts of the world for this, and we're hoping that technology holds out well for us. But I'd like to introduce to you Clare Clifford and James Warwick. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you. Hello. How do you do?
Hello. I'm very well and living in Massachusetts via New York and then Los Angeles, but I'm fine in the middle of the sticks here.
And how's lockdown treating you both?
Well, is it wrong to say I'm enjoying it? No. I really feel for everybody who is directly involved with it, but it is extraordinary the effect of taking the pressure off. And the air in London is apparently, the lack of pollution is now matching 70 years ago when Ford T's were on the road. And you do notice it because I had to go out to walk the dog every day. And it is amazing. There's cherry blossom, it's spring, and very, very few people. And the air is much better. So, I don't know, it's a tragedy that it had to take this to make us stop and look and, you know, have a bit of a rethink. But
well,
long may the effects last.
I'm sure we're going to have a bit of a rethink when we come out the other side of this for sure. And how's things for you over there, James?
Like Claire, we've been old friends, young friends for a long time. But, well, never mind. We were at drama school together. Let's leave it at that. I look weeks younger. It's almost impossible to believe. But this, I think, is the time to be slow, as Claire says. There's a wonderful sonnet by John O'Donoghue. This is the time to be slow, lie low to the wall until the bitter weather passes. I read that because I've been reading more, and I teach a little bit. I direct plays now rather than act in them, and I do that at a company in the Berkshires of Massachusetts. It's called Shakespeare and Company. There's Tanglewood and Jacob's Pillow and Berkshire Theatre Festival and Barrington Stage, these huge regional theatres around here. It's unique. And of course, they're all closing down. So what was the idyllic place to live in the summer, you were sort of bombarded with events, culture, music, concerts, plays, musicals, you know. But it certainly has given pause, as Claire says, pause for reflection. I'll just add, Jason, the last couple of lines of this sonnet that I started is by John O'Donoghue. And it says, if you remain generous, time will come good, and you will find your feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where the air will be kind and blushed with new beginning. Wow. Well, I think that's what I'm, in my heart, that is where I feel, sustenance lies for me and others. We follow the directions, we stay inside, we socially distance. But actually, it's what's inside that's going to get through for most people, those of us who are lucky not to be affected by this crisis.
Well, we're putting on some live streaming events to try and bring Doctor Who into the homes of as many people as we can around the world. We've had a couple of very successful weekends. So hopefully our Cybermen events coming up this weekend will be equally as popular. And I'm blessed to have you both with me just for a short period today. Hopefully we can just take everyone's minds off it for a little while. So you two obviously have known each other then for quite some time. If you were in stage school together. Did you work together at all professionally before Doctor Who?
Yes.
We overlapped on Rocky, but well, no, you was Brad, weren't you? You were.
I took over Brad. I played Brad Majors in the Rocky Horror Show for the first year. It's what I call my historic claim to fame. But it was for the first year. A lovely guy who'd done it at the Royal Court actually signed to do another show. Little did he know. Chris Malcolm. And then I took over with Tim Curry and played it for a year. And then after that, Claire came in and stayed with some other friends I'd done it with, who some of whom I'm still in contact, like Claire. In fact, a couple of years ago, we all had a little reunion, didn't we?
Yes.
In where was it?
The Raven.
The Raven.
Raven pub. Your
the
birthday.
Raven pub.
It was your birthday, wasn't it?
Yes.
Your 30th birthday. Just the
30th birthday, darling. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So we did work together.
Yeah.
After drama school, but we were at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama together in 1900 and frozen to death.
Yes, but I was with your brother the same year as your brother, not with you.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you were.
I think you'd left.
Yes. Yes. So that means I'm older? Oh, yes, right.
So
Yes.
so were either of you aware that the other was up for a part in Doctor Who when Earthshock came along?
No,
No.
no. It was literally a screech at the top. As I came up, I don't think I even knew before I'd climbing up that blooming quarry wall. But there, when I got over the lip of the quarry on take 42, there was Mr. Warwick going, yes.
Bossing you around with some authority.
It was a laugh. It was
We did laugh a lot, didn't we? Janet Fielding, she joined us in our rather sort of subversive behaviour. I remember the director, Peter Grimwade, said to me, we did this first scene of 4 episodes of Doctor Who with the beautiful Clare Clifford, and we were all dressed up in army uniforms and little torches, lamps, as they call them here, and lots of big guns and everything, and I'd done a few tellies before that, sort of much the same sort of man about town sort of thing, and the director said to me, James, he says, it's lovely, but do you think you could rough it up a bit?
Oh,
do you remember that, Claire?
Is that the excuse for that accent you used then?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, of course I did. I roughed it up. What was I to do?
That's your rough.
I was an actor. That's what actors do, isn't it? Yeah, right. Come on, men. And so that stuck. I mean, I did it once, and of course it was the first day of filming. So I had to do it for about 2 months, all the way through the studio scenes and everything. But it was still fun. We had fun, didn't we, Claire?
Oh, God, we pulled stomach muscles. It was terrible. In the studio, behind the rock. Peter Davison was no help either. He was the most terrible giggler. So he was
dreadful.
No help.
And the only person who didn't laugh at all, of course, was, bless his heart, was little Adric, Matthew, who didn't think it was at all funny, any of it. But, if I'd been in...
Yes, but he, you know why? Because he'd been given no warning. He'd just been given the script. So he was in a very thoughtful mood.
Yeah.
I see quite a lot of him now. We're in touch, and he sends me. I read his writing. He's doing a wonderful amount of writing.
Bless his.
Yeah,
that's very good. Very good to know. People segue into all sorts of things they never thought they could. I honestly never thought I would become a director. I've directed something like about 100 productions now, all over the America. And I would not have thought that I would be doing that 25 years ago. I really wouldn't. So, maybe this time is going to open up more potential for fresh views on our lives.
Yes. I keep finding things that I thought I'd lost and assembling all my painting stuff and writing, obviously, and thinking I must do that. But I've been thinking I must do that for some time now. So it's quite difficult to crack on sometimes.
It is.
Yeah.
And things like this, I'm actually getting a little bit used to it. I don't think I'll ever totally love it, but I am getting used to this thing of sitting in my little den, my little office here at home, overlooking a beautiful green lawn and trees and some sort of rural beauty to give me comfort. but I never thought that I would actually be looking into a screen on my desk and directing scenes and bits of plays. I haven't put it all together yet, but certainly, this is going to be part of our future, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't know how long this is going to go on for, this extraordinary thing of having to regard every other human being as a possible bullet,
Yeah.
I go around assuming that I have got it and therefore I must not give it to anybody else, rather than, I mustn't catch it, because we don't know if we're carrying it or not. So I get quite cross if people try to squeeze past on the pavement. That's not 6 feet, I said rather crossly to a young lady today. Exactly.
Are you getting cross with them, Claire? Oh.
I've just noticed your rather snazzy poster in the background, Claire. Any reason for that being there?
Which one?
Your one with your name on it, actually.
Oh, yes. Well, I thought in case I forgot my name, which happens quite often, I think I nicked that from one of the Fantom events.
Well, I think it's a lovely name, as you know, because we share surname, of course, which I think we did have a little laugh at when we met in Oxford last year.
Jason, can I just interrupt? It just reminded me. I also, from time to time, get asked to spend time with students at Bard College. Bard College is an American college, it's very, very old and terribly expensive. And they're very, very smart, bright kids. And one of them, his name is Felix Foote. And he goes to Doctor Who conventions. Fraser Hines has become apparently a very good friend. And he told me that this was the first day I was teaching, I don't know, some play by Molière or something. And he said, well, actually, I'm only interested in you being in Doctor Who. So I thought, oh, well, I'm going to mention his name because he will be so thrilled. And I'm actually seeing him tomorrow night online, and we're going to do a comedic monologue. And I bet you he's going to be absolutely wonderful. He'll be thrilled. Hi, Felix.
Well, tell him we're on YouTube on Saturday, so tell him to tune in to us.
What time?
We start at 2:00 British summer time, so work it out from there.
Right.
So
I'm writing it down.
I'm going to just drag you back a little bit to Doctor Who just for a sec. I won't keep you there for long. So obviously you've walked in, you guest cast, and obviously by the sounds of it, you've got on really well with Peter, Janet. So I'm assuming the cast were quite welcoming when you joined?
Oh, yes. Very. It was, and I knew John Nathan Turner before because he'd been on Angels and Gary, so it was very much, it felt very much like a family affair, I have to say.
Yeah, for me, exactly the same. For me, I had known Beryl Reid because Beryl Reid, who played what was she, the commander?
Yes.
Yes, didn't quite get the script, really. With the best will of the world, she didn't quite know what was going on. It wasn't really her thing, but she was such good fun. And she made me laugh. She was the one who made me laugh the most, but she probably shouldn't have done it. She was playing the commander of a spaceship. But I'd known her because she'd worked with Jan Waters, my sister-in-law, and my brother Philip, and she'd done a tour. I think it was called A Little Bit on the Side. And she'd done this tour with them a couple of years previously. So I'd been to see it and I'd met her. And actually, we're in the book. We're in her book. I think her book that came out a few years after Doctor Who was called So Much Love.
Oh.
Yeah. I loved her to bits. I thought she was terribly funny. And her famous line to me, she said, James, I don't understand this line. When it says the freighter is going into warp drive, does that mean that it could land in somewhere like Acacia Avenue? And I said, no, Beryl, it's a sort of technical term, sort of space term. She said, oh, I don't understand this script. She said, what am I supposed to do with that line? The freighter is going to warp drive. This is ridiculous. She threw the script on the floor and walked out. And the production manager had to go and get her from her dressing room.
Wonderful. And if you listen to how she says that line, It's exactly, I don't know what this means, but I suppose I have to say it. The freighter's going into warp drive.
Yes. Oh, bless her heart. Well, you know, the Cybermen were so, I mean, they were so impressive, even given the constrictions or confines of the studio sets. And it was so hot in the studio without wearing all that stuff on. So I really admired the actor, and they were really good actors who played those Cybermen. They weren't sort of extras dragged off the street in Shepherd's Bush. They were really good actors, and they really put a lot into it.
I live in Shepherd's Bush, you know.
Yes, I know, darling. Well, yes, that's why you got the part, because you don't have to, they don't have to pay you travel expenses.
They didn't have to. We rehearsed in the pub on the corner, halfway between here and Threshold House.
I mean, acting opposite monsters, classic monsters like that in Doctor Who, of course, never an easy thing, particularly because the faces are sort of so emotionless, so you're not getting an awful lot back. But like you said, the actors underneath the helmets, if you like, are really, really good, and they bring the parts to life.
Yeah. Very tall young men as well. Very, very, very prepossessing. Yes. They were a splendid bunch. I don't know how they managed. They couldn't get changed, of course, you know, for the whole day. They couldn't get out of their costumes. So I can't remember how they had lunch, through a pipe, I suppose. But they were very, very good and very tall. That's what I remember. And then they killed me. One of them killed me.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you and Adric, I mean, you know.
Because the story's notable for two things. The surprise reappearance of the Cybermen at the end of the first episode, but also for the death of mixed reaction as to a much-loved companion, but obviously it's never nice to see one of our companions plummet to earth the way he did, but obviously the shock departure of Matthew Waterhouse's Adric. Did that affect filming at all? Was there a bit of a, I think you've alluded to already, was there a bit of a sense of a mood around the set?
Well, only in that he obviously wasn't having as much fun as the rest of us were, because for him, you know, it was, you know, he just got the scripts and learned what was going to happen. So, and he was a very young actor then, if you remember, he was still a teenager. So I don't know how much pastoral care the BBC gave him on that occasion, but in these days, he would have been helped a bit more, perhaps. Yes.
Hey, also, I have to say, I remember
very good. He was
very good. He was very, very good. You know, it's very hard to invest that sort of passion in, especially at that age, in somebody's assistant. But he brought a really deeply researched and committed character. My goodness, he was committed. And I'm so glad he's doing well now, Claire. Yeah. Please say hello from me.
I will. I will.
Will you? Good.
Well, sure,
and Janet Fielding apparently has a scurrilous photograph of me, which she you and Janet Fielding burst into my bathroom at the BBC. Yes, you.
Never. Me?
You burst into my bathroom when I'd finished a long, hard day's filming, and you took a photograph of me, a Polaroid, in the bath.
Ooh! And Janet's got it, has she?
Janet still has it. And I want it back. Right.
I'll see what I can do.
I think it's too late. I think it's you know, anyway, it doesn't look like me.
Shall I pop it on Instagram for you? Would that do, darling?
Don't you dare. No, nobody would know who it was at all. Of course, it was this long, thin person covered in spots because I'd just taken off the makeup. So nobody would know it was me. Right.
Right. I'm just interested on what you were working on leading up to the lockdown, and has it interrupted any sort of significant projects for you?
Yes, it has. At the end of September last year, water came pouring through from the first floor flat next door. I won't turn the camera around because it's too awful, but the entire alcove over there now looks like Venice, a wall out of Venice. It needs, the plaster has to be hacked off and then everything. So the place is even more chaotic than ever. And not only that, but the man responsible is, of course, playing fast and loose, I think the phrase is. So, yes, that's what I was doing. And of course, you can't get anybody in to do anything these days. James?
Well, I'm a little bit more fortunate. I'm sorry to say I can't help much on that. I would come round with my trestle and plasterboard, and I'm a plastic board, but I'm a bit far away. I'm going to show you. Oh, hang on a second. I'm going to swivel. I'm actually working on a play. You can't see that now, can you? It's a play, but it's called A Lifespan of a Fact.
Brilliant.
And it may still go on at this company, Shakespeare & Company, a little later in the summer, perhaps, than planned, or we could do it perhaps on Zoom. Anything is possible. But it's about Lifespan of a Fact is about
the truth.
News. It's about fake news.
Fake news.
And
very good title. Very good.
It's a very good title. It's just come off Broadway. Cherry Jones and I was going to say Matthew. Who was the guy in all those Harry Potter films? Oh gosh, senior moment.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, well done, mister. Daniel Radcliffe and Cherry Jones just did it in New York, at the end of last year. So this is one of the productions going on regionally. So I'm working on that, and I've also been working with these colleges, Bard College particularly, and I was directing a production which is very ambitious of the Threepenny Opera by Kurt.
Oh, how lovely! I love it.
Yes. So my life is still, I have to say, very full and very fulfilling. I'm very, very fortunate. Yeah.
Good.
Well, I could carry this discussion on, I feel, for probably the next 2 or 3 hours very, very easily. I think you two have got a lot to catch up on, so it's lovely. I mean, it was quite interesting actually that you were both a little surprised when you both realised that you were on the interview with us today, which was kind of good. But it's been lovely chatting away to you. I wish you well for the rest of the lockdown, and hopefully you all stay safe. And at this point, I'd normally turn to an audience and say, round of applause for you, but I'm going to say it for you. A round of applause for Clare Clifford and James Warwick. Thank you very much for coming and joining us here for our
Jason.
For our Cyberman event at our Time Space Visualiser. Thanks very much.
Take care. Keep well.